Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chapter 2, The Love Affair. This chapter really is one of my favorite chapters because, quite frankly, it's the one that really saved my life. So, for those of you who've been reading the book, you read about my then husband's accident. And for those of you who are curious, you're probably going to have to pick up the book. But my life literally changed in just a moment's notice. And I went from really feeling comfortable as a very young 23-year-old girl to all of a sudden needing to become the primary breadwinner in my household. And that literally changed overnight. So I was really, really lucky. I was able to get a job with a women's clothing company out of North Carolina. And my job basically was to fly from city to city, and I would hire their salespeople. And I loved that job. I really loved that job. I was able to wear pretty clothes, and I was able to meet really engaging women, and it was a great job until page 23. So I'm going to read you a little bit about what happened in my life that really started the very beginning of my professional midlife crisis. So after my husband's accident, I became the primary breadwinner in our family. My career decisions no longer rested on what I loved, but where I could earn enough income to support my family. I believe this is how many of us choose our career early on, and a big part of why we end up in crisis. I know for a fact it fed into mine. After the accident, I went to work for a women's clothing company out of North Carolina. It was fun, but required full-time air travel, which was brutal. After 7 years, I was traveling back from a conference on a flight from St. Louis to O'Hare in Chicago. As a frequent flyer, I was accustomed to hearing flight attendants, "Please prepare for landing." But we didn't land. Almost an hour later, we still hadn't started our descent. The pilot finally came on the intercom and said, "Well, we're going to give it to you straight. They found part of our landing gear back where we took off in St. Louis. This probably means a belly landing." The bad news is we refueled in St. Louis, so we're going to be up here for a while. We were up there 4 hours to be exact. Once we have burned off most of our fuel, we'll go out into a field, dump the remainder, and we'll have just enough fuel to land in O'Hare. We spent the next 4 hours practicing brace, brace, brace. I have never been so scared in all my life. As we approached O'Hare, we were greeted by fire trucks and ambulances, but God certainly blessed us that day. While the landing was rough, we were all fine, except for one issue. I knew I couldn't fly every day anymore. So here I am, barely 34 years old, and I needed to start looking for a new job. Obviously, if I could find one that would support my family and that I loved, that would be the dream. Competitors called me, but I didn't feel right about going to work against my former company. Plus, like you, I just wanted to change. So I did what any smart salesperson would do. I made a list, or rather 2 lists. These lists literally changed the trajectory of my career and my life forever. So it's true. I was very much at a crossroads. I was the only breadwinner in our family at that point, and I really needed to find something new that I could not only earn a good living, but that I would hope would become my life's vocation. So the first list is what you are good at. And I don't mean what you've educated yourself to or what you've trained to, but in your DNA, what you are good at. Think about that kid in high school who was good at every sport and it just never seemed like he practiced, but he was just naturally good at it. That's a DNA gift. Well, here's what I'll tell you. Every person that I've ever met has a natural DNA gift. Part of making this list is for you to help figure out what is your natural DNA gifts. And when you find your vocation against that, it's just a natural fit because it becomes easy to you. Second list, what you love to do. It is so important that you understand where your passions lie and that you match your career to those passions. I mean, I remember as a little girl, my dad saying, figure out what you love to do and then figure out how to get paid for it, and you'll always love your job. And it really is true. So make a list of everything you're passionate about. And I don't just mean professionally. I mean your whole life, family, playing piano, whatever it is, write it down. Because you're all one person. We're not professional and we're not personal. We're all one person. So making sure that your passions all the way around are fulfilled by what you do is a wonderful thing. We're going to go back to these lists in a couple weeks. Now, here's what I want you to think about, though. As you start to go through this process and really think about it, don't just make a list and then leave it. Carry a piece of paper and a pen with you, and every time you think of something, jot it down. Because it isn't one of those things where everything sort of comes to you as you're sitting there thinking about it, but things will come to you as you're driving or you're in your home and you're reading. Things will come to you that you're passionate about or that you're really good at. Make your lists, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next chapter of A Well Done Professional Midlife Crisis.